Wall Street kind of woke up, and it's something everyone in this room knows about, but it was very interesting. Wall Street's very myopic, very China-focused, very BRIC-focused, emerging markets and so forth. But if there's a lesson of 2011, and I looked at putting this report together, we learned that Europe mattered. And I think we tend to forget that in the United States.
But in these dramatically changing times, it is sometimes possible to forget that fact, particularly as we see eye to eye on so many issues. However, over the next few months we have a moment to take stock of where we stand today and lay out a plan for where we want to go. We will need substantive, constructive and consistent input from the transatlantic business community if we are to succeed.
The transatlantic trade is just phenomenal when you look at the size and scale of it relative to any other sort of global economic sort of trade relationships. So it's really good to get into some of the issues about how we can sort of share innovation, how we can collaborate together, where some of the opportunities are, I think, to grow, particularly in the digital space. So this is a very good opportunity, I think, to get together, to focus on some very real issues about how do we get more momentum into both the US and the European economies.
The key going forward for Europe is going to be inclusive growth, and with inclusive I mean across all segments, addressing the unemployment of the young, but also to drive the economy forward. I think the difference to get there is going to be between protective legislation and proactive legislation in areas such as data privacy. As we enter the digital economy, big data is the new goal, and that's going to allow us to leverage the service sector and export more of that capability in Europe. So I think we're well placed, but we have a way to go, and we need to have a sense of urgency to get some of that framework together.
I think we need to keep the political impulse behind this process. We need to win the hearts and minds of political leaders with good arguments, and we need to try to look at what is essential and not be distracted by what is not essential.
To me, this is kind of a marriage that's going stale. You know, I mean, it's just kind of like, we're not excited about each other. We're not listening to each other. We're nagging, bickering over, reach, chemicals, agriculture. It's like, it's that argument, like, who's going to take out the dog, or take out the garbage, who's going to pick up the kids. We got to move on. We got to get over it. Okay? And that's kind of like, we need a spark. And as I said, the ambassador put ambitions, add some ambition. We need a spark. We need to kind of reignite the passion. And if it's a free trade agreement, fine. But if we're going to talk about Doha, which I think is dead, if we're going to talk about CAP, if we're going to talk about chemicals and so forth, it's just not going to happen. So to me, this is a marriage in search of a spark, and hopefully something will kind of light that flame by which we do continue to generate the growth.
After a discussion, after a few figures, which are extremely revealing about the importance of our trade and investment relationship, what I see is a willingness, an openness. Even people are eager to do more with Europe, because the underlying feeling people have, it's emotional, but it's also rational, is that they want to engage with Europe. They find it natural that Americans engage with Europe. People to people, business to business, administration to administration.
We're very excited about this opportunity to take a fresh look at the US-EU relationship, see if there are ways that we can improve the relationship, increase trade, increase investment, all for the benefit of mutually supportive jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. We have a very industrious and diligent team working both in the United States and in Europe to investigate all the different options for increasing trade and investment, including tariffs, behind the border measures, investment, services, the entire range of options. And we're taking a very diligent and structured look at what the options are, what their feasibility is, and what their value is in terms of growth, jobs, and competitiveness.
The choice is clear. The project only makes political and economic sense if we clearly aim for an effective tool to spur economic recovery. After all, our trade policy is not about window dressing, it's about delivering tangible results. If we want to be effective, our objective needs to be both ambitious and realistic.
We are still world leaders in terms of being the most important trade and investment relationship in the world. But we are being challenged. and we should be fully aware of that. And I think the question one should ask is a simple one. How are we going to react to this challenge? Are we fighting each other, or are we forging a strategic alliance?
We are at crossroads. We are at crossroads because there's a real momentum to achieve real progress in this relationship. But this momentum exists precisely because of the fact that both sides are facing economic difficulties. Both sides are facing duress, and duress creates opportunities and needs. So progress needs to be made. If we don't make progress soon, now, between now and the next couple of years, I would say, when will we make progress?